Good morning, everyone. Will DuPree once again here in the KXAN live studio. Thank you for joining us this morning as we bring you another live edition of First Warning Weather University with meteorologist David Yeomans. David, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Will, and everybody else watching.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So if you're watching, we're going to give you a moment to gather your kids, bring them to the screen, because we want to provide them one other way to learn, because school is out, or at least the facilities are closed, but learning is still happening at home. David, what's the topic today?
Yeah, and if this is your first time watching, welcome. We've been doing these weekly live streams featuring our multitude of First Warning Weather University videos that are always available online at kxan.com/FWWU. Today we're going to talk about, this is one of the newer ones that we've filmed that we're excited to debut for you. This is about weather balloons. And weather balloons are something that have been around for decades, but they're something that are as important right now as ever. And the bottom line is the atmosphere where the weather happens, it's not only here on the ground. You know, we have thermometers or rain gauges or whatever in your backyard, but those are all on the ground. The weather takes place from the ground level all the way up to 40 or 50,000 feet up in the sky, so higher than the airplanes fly. So weather balloons are a really crucial way for us to know what's going on up in the sky where we don't really have a way to measure otherwise.
You know, this is a topic that I've really not known much about either. We often get to go along whenever they do launch a weather balloon and get to cover that, but we've never explained, or at least not in my experience, explained kind of what it's used for and what it does. And this video, it does it.
I'm glad that we had the chance to. So this is from me and my producer Eric Henriksen. This is What Do Weather Balloons Do and Why Are They So Important for Us?
The weather is always moving and changing, so it's crucial that we have ways to measure what it's doing. But the weather doesn't just happen here on the ground, most of it actually happens up in the sky. That's why weather balloons are vital to predicting the weather. In order to predict what the weather is going to do, we need to know what the weather's doing right now. Weather stations here on the ground measure things like temperature and pressure, but we can't just hang those at every point across the sky. So we need a different way to get weather sensors into the atmosphere. A weather balloon, which is about the size of an adult when it's inflated, carries beneath it a box of miniature weather instruments. Twice a day, every day, these balloons are released into the sky by meteorologists at the National Weather Service. As they rise through the atmosphere at 1,000 feet per minute, they beam back information about what the weather is like up above our heads. This stream of data is plugged into supercomputers that help us predict how the weather will move. Weather balloons may rise as high as 115,000 feet above the Earth's surface, the edge of space. Here, temperatures can be as cold as 130 degrees below zero, and there's very little pressure from the atmosphere. Without that pressure from the Earth's atmosphere keeping the balloon the same size, it grows to the height of a two-story building. And then, a parachute safely carries the instruments back to Earth. Out of the 75,000 of these that are sent up by the Weather Service every year, only about 20% of them are ever found and returned. If you ever spot one, follow the directions on the side of it to send it back so it can be reused.
And there you have it. David Yeomans and our producer Eric Henriksen put this video together to explain what a weather balloon actually is and the job it does. Pretty interesting, David.
Yeah, and I've never met somebody who's found one of those. I
Really?
mentioned there are 75,000 that are sent up every year. Think about that. You know, every state has usually several of these National Weather Service offices, and every single National Weather Service office sends one up twice a day, every single day. I always tell kids, even on Christmas, even on Thanksgiving, and these are really crucial for us to know what's going on up in the atmosphere.
No time off for those.
No.
To be able to have that kind of data, to send that weather balloon up and get that, atmospheric data, I mean, how important is that?
It's crucial, and we never need to find the weather balloon to get that data back. When the weather balloon is rising up at 1,000 feet per minute, all the way up to the edge of space, as you saw in the video, every half of 1 second, it's beaming back all of the information that it gathers. Temperature, pressure, humidity, wind, and how does it measure wind if it's just a balloon that's racing up to space, how it goes side to side. It has a GPS on it, and it has mathematical formulas in it that say if it's drifting this way, this fast, it knows, okay, the wind is coming from this direction at a certain speed. So that is all plugged in, not by humans, but by automated methods, to these big supercomputers that help us predict the weather. So these are basically just taking observations of what the weather is doing right now now, we plug it into these big computers that run by these complicated equations of how the air moves, and that all helps us project forward what is going to happen. So if you want to be totally accurate with predicting what's going to happen, you need to know what's happening right now, and these are a really, really important way for us to do that.
If you're just joining us, meteorologist David Yeomans is explaining how weather balloons work. We often talk about that, and they are an important tool for you guys. How long have they been in use? Do you know, David? Because that seems like a pretty rudimentary thing to be able to send a weather balloon or just a balloon up.
Sure.
It's kind of interesting.
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I think it's been at least 50 years.
Wow.
I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I'll have to research that and get back to you. They've been around for a minute because it relies just on radio technology to transmit back that data, and radio technology has been around for a while.
And that little box that is attached to the weather balloon,
That's
they're
right.
often lost after they've served their purpose and come back down to Earth.
And I think they cost about $900 a piece.
Wow.
So that's why the Weather Service says if you find one, send it back because we want to reuse that.
And those little boxes have instructions about how to return them.
That's exactly right. So
That's so
kids, if
interesting.
you're ever roaming around out in nature, maybe you'll see one if you see a mysterious styrofoam box that says that on it.
And if you're watching us on Facebook right now, let us know if you're watching with your kids and how many kids you have and where you're watching from. We'd love to hear that. We've been kind of impressed by how many people get to watch this and say, like, they're sitting down with their 2 kids in this town. So we'd love to hear that too. And if you have any questions for David as well, send them our way. Leave them in the Facebook comment section, and we will try to get to them as many as possible. But once again, David, explain what we're going to be watching today.
Yeah, so let's check it out one more time if you and the kids want to catch it again, or if you're just joining us. This is our First Warning Weather University on how weather balloons work and why they're important for what we do.
The weather is always moving and changing, so it's crucial that we have ways to measure what it's doing. But the weather doesn't just happen here on the ground, most of it actually happens up in the sky. That's why weather balloons are vital to predicting the weather. In order to predict what the weather is going to do, we need to know what the weather's doing right now. Weather stations here on the ground measure things like temperature and pressure, but we can't just hang those at every point across the sky. So we need a different way to get weather sensors into the atmosphere. A weather balloon, which is about the size of an adult when it's inflated, carries beneath it a box of miniature weather instruments. Twice a day, every day, these balloons are released into the sky by meteorologists at the National Weather Service. As they rise through the atmosphere at 1,000 feet per minute, they beam back information about what the weather is like up above our heads. This stream of data is plugged into supercomputers that help us predict how the weather will move. Weather balloons may rise as high as 115,000 feet above the Earth's surface, the edge of space. Here, temperatures can be as cold as 130 degrees below zero, and there's very little pressure from the atmosphere. Without that pressure from the Earth's atmosphere keeping the balloon the same size, it grows to the height of a 2-story building. And a parachute safely carries the instruments back to Earth. Out of the 75,000 of these that are sent up by the Weather Service every year, only about 20% of them are ever found and returned. If you ever spot one, follow the directions on the side of it to send it back so it can be reused.
Such a fun video, David. I mean, that must have been a lot of good time to do that with Eric because he does all those animations himself.
Yeah, and he learned how to animate just for this new series that we're doing, First Warning Weather University. He won an Emmy for his animations, so he's doing a great job with those. And I'd like to thank my alma mater, Westlake High School, for that classroom. You'll start seeing that classroom in a few more of our videos.
That's so cool. And again, there's dozens, almost more than a dozen of these videos online.
Yes, and we've got like 10 or more in production right now.
Wow.
I'll tell you a little preview of what's coming up. Eric just sent me the finished copy of What Do Storm Chasers Do and Why Are They Important? And that one, if you think the animations in this one are good, wait till you see that one. I'm excited to debut that soon.
I know a lot of people want to watch that one too.
Sure.
We want to give a shout out to a few people that are watching this morning with their kids. Brittany McGuffey says she's watching with her 2 kids in Lampasas, so we appreciate that.
Lampasas, love it.
Kaylee says she's watching with her 2 kids in Pflugerville. Brittany Carter says, my kids are around the house, but I'm loving the info about the weather balloons. Round Rock, Texas. 7- and 5-year-old are listening with her.
Great, Brittany.
Love that too. This is my favorite comment of the morning so far. Derek Bates says, hi, David, from the oldest kid on here, LOL. Nice to catch you live from Lido Key, Florida.
Florida, Derek. Hey, thanks, man.
Incredible.
I recognize his name from Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
so
our reach goes far, apparently.
Absolutely, I like that. And you know, one of the comments I got leading up to this, yesterday when I posted that we would be doing this today was from a woman. Remind me of her name if you've got it. She said she used to work for the National Weather Service as an intern, and she used to send up these balloons. How cool is that?
Yeah, her name is Rachel Wilgren.
Rachel Wilgren. So thank you for sending that. I'm jealous. I spent a couple days with the Weather Service when I was a student, but I never got to actually fill up and release one of these. I've always thought that would be fun.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, this is pretty cool. Maybe you'll get to do it one day.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Before we go, I want to say there is some pretty hot weather on our way. Summer appears to be knocking at the door at this moment.
Yeah, today's the 1st of May, and it's going to look more like, June or July this weekend. It'll be 90 today.
Wow.
But at least it's not quite humid yet. Tomorrow and Sunday, though, it'll be lower middle 90s, and it'll be really humid. Sunday, we're probably going to tie a record high if we don't set a new one, and it'll feel like about 100 degrees in the shade. We may actually hit 99 or 100 on the thermometer, not even the heat index, but the thermometer next Monday or Tuesday. So this is unusual heat. This is possibly record heat. If we do hit 100 early next week, that'll be 2 months ahead of schedule on when we typically see it. So it could bear bad news for our upcoming summer. It's only May 1st.
Right. Maybe this is a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been spoiled by how nice it's been.
Yeah, actually, April, this is notable, was perfectly average for temperatures across the whole month. We took every single hour of the whole month, and we averaged them all together, and it was perfectly on track. So that's remarkable because mainly thanks to climate change, we keep being hotter than normal every single month. 9 out of the past 12 months in Austin have been hotter than normal. We had our hottest September ever end of last summer. We had one of our warmest winters on record. I think the 3rd warmest March on record. So just the fact that we had a pretty nice April, we'll take that.
Yes, for sure. I have enjoyed everything about it.
Yeah.
On my little solo walks and rollerblade sessions at night. So
yeah, those are important.
Yeah. David, is there anything you'd want to add before we wrap things up? And if anyone has any questions, please, we're monitoring the Facebook comment section if you're watching there.
For sure.
So please throw them our way.
Yeah, I'll circle back around on my phone when this is done and get to everybody's comments that we may have missed. But we appreciate you guys watching every Friday morning. Hopefully this helps you keep the kids engaged and entertained. And if you want to check out any of our other videos, they're always available on KXAN.com. Will, you reminded me that on the homepage even you can just scroll over the weather tab, and there's a First Warning Weather University link there.
Yeah,
so you
I
can
will
check them
pull
out.
that up right now, actually, so that you can see it right here. So this,
go.
again, is our homepage there next to David. Weather tab right here. And then at the bottom is the First Warning Weather University video section. There you go. And then they are all listed right there, so you can watch them one after the other if you want.
Yeah, that's great. So supplement your kid's curriculum, or if you've got a kid who's into weather like I was when I was 6 or 7 years old, hopefully you guys will find these interesting. And every week we'll keep featuring a new one as long as school is out of session, and maybe even beyond that. I'll have to convince you to keep doing these with me.
I would love to. One question I had for you, David, though, before we go is, as a kid, what was it about weather that interested you?
Oh, the sheer power of it. I was always in awe of it. Things like lightning and wind. And we really will, this day and age when we have a supercomputer in our pocket,
right,
and when we have all this technology to do everything else, we still cannot do a darn thing to control weather. We're really just at its mercy, and that's one of the main things that's still fascinates me to this day. We don't fully understand it, and we can't do a thing about it except just be in it at its mercy.
And predict it as best as possible.
That's right.
All right. Well, David, thank you so much for being here yet again for another lesson. You're a great teacher, and I know a lot of people appreciate that too.
Thank you, sir, and thank you guys all for watching. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and everybody, we have more information again on our website, KXAN.com, and the KXAN News app. It's right there in your pocket, as David said. We appreciate you all watching. We'll see you back here another time. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, everybody. Stay safe and healthy, and if at all possible, still at home. Bye, guys.